I'm just the host. We got a great show coming up. The next comic, we have a very special guy stopping into town. He's from the Midwest, but I know him from New York, and he performs weekly at the comic strip. Please put your hands together for Simon Zais.
Thank you guys so much. I'm so happy to be back here. I didn't get the one thing that I wanted for Christmas, though. I want to get a pet sloth. That's what I want to get. They're okay. I guess they make okay pets. The issue is that they're so dumb that, like, sometimes in the wild, they'll get their arms confused for branches, and then they'll try to swing from tree to tree on their arms. It doesn't work. They just fall out of trees, which is shitty for sloths, but it'd be hilarious to walk up on if you were like, is that a sloth up there? He's like, I'm gonna go get that apple in that tree. Thank God there's this branch here. Just falls out of the tree. It's like, as he's falling, he's like, hold on, I think I've seen birds handle this before. Right, because he's a sloth. He's like, oh shit, it's not working. Thank God there's this branch here. The title of that joke is Who Smoked Weed Before This Show? If you thought that was hilarious, we're gonna party together later. I went skydiving for my birthday this year. If you've never been skydiving, really good way to piss your pants while strapped to another grown man. That's a good way to do it. I was like, it's raining. He's like, no, it's not. It's just... I went skydiving, and my friend was like, hey man, when you go skydiving, you and your buddy should play catch with a cat. And I was like, what the fuck did you just say? And he was like, no, it's not what it sounds like. When you jump out of the plane, you and your buddy toss a cat back and forth. And I was like, yeah, that's pretty much what I thought you meant the first time. He goes, no, it's not as bad as it sounds. It's not as bad as it sounds. Because no matter how high you drop a cat from, no matter how high you drop a cat from, cats have a non-fatal terminal velocity, which means at a certain speed, they splay out like a little cat parachute. They won't go any faster. And then, when they hit the ground, it's not going fast enough to kill. Like, the cat's not gonna have a good day, right? Like he's not gonna hop up and be like, oh, I guess skydiving's not my thing, and then scurry off, right? But it's not going fast enough to kill the cat, which means a couple things. One, it means this guy's done it, which is pretty messed up. Two, it means that theoretically, if you tied enough cats together, you could jump out of an airplane with a cat parachute. After hearing that, I was on the same page as most of you guys, as there is absolutely no way that that is true, right? And I Googled it, and it's true. They did a study in New York City of cats that fell from over 7 stories out of apartment buildings, and of those cats, 90% of them lived. The first thing I thought is 90% is way too low for me to feel comfortable with a cat parachute. But that means a couple things. That means that somewhere there was a scientist who had to request funding for that study, right? Like there was a guy who had to go into a funding office and be like, all right, I got a great idea for a study. I'm gonna need $4 million. Step 1, I'm gonna buy 100 bags of cats. Hear me out. Right? But then he did the study, right? Like there's a dude with a PhD doing this study. I can't believe that worked. Imagine walking up on that on the street. You're like walking down the streets of New York, and some cop's just like, "Sorry, sir, you can't come down this street. We're closed for official government testing." And then from behind his head, you see a cat fly out of a window. That joke is only funny because no one gives a shit about cats. Like, you guys respond totally differently if I'm like, somewhere there's a scientist doing this study. Woof, woof, woof. See? or if I'm like, somewhere there's a scientist doing this study. Thank God there's this branch here. I used to be a drug addict. It's hard for a lot of people to understand about me. I've been sober for almost 5 years now. It's going pretty well. Thank you. I've been sober for almost 5 years. I've only almost relapsed one time, right? I was in the morning and I was getting dressed and I was putting on my deodorant and I smelled my deodorant. And like a minute later, I was still smelling my deodorants. And then like 5 minutes later, I was still smelling my deodorant. And then I kind of snapped out of it, and I looked, and the main ingredient in my deodorant was alcohol. That's what almost got me, was my deodorant. And that is a shitty relapse story, right? Like, imagine if I had to take that piece of shit to an AA meeting, right? Like, some guy's like, "Yeah, I was shooting heroin into my dick, crashed a car into my sister, it's messed up." Anybody else need a new white chip? Like, all right, man. What did you win? Old Spice. I don't drink at all anymore. I don't use drugs at all anymore. I'm totally clean. A lot of my new friends don't even know that I used to be a drug addict because I don't really talk about it that much in my normal life. I told my buddy, I was like, "I'm gonna go back to the gym, start swimming, get back into shape. It's gonna be awesome." He was like, "Simon, you need to be careful because they put a lot of chlorine in those pools and it can be bad for your lungs." And I was like, "Yeah, but I've smoked crack." like no doctor's ever gonna get my body on an autopsy table and be like, "Whoa, this guy's lungs are messed up." Has he been swimming? Hey, thank you guys so much. I'm Simon Zais. Enjoy the rest of your show. Peace out.
Let's hear it again for Simon Zais.